This is the Sweno Creative Podcast. I'll be your host, professional photographer and video content creator, Brian Sweno. In this podcast, we will discuss all parts of business, marketing, mindset, creativity, and self-improvement. Sometimes with the help of a special guest to provide some incredible outside perspective. So, Ashley, tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Ashley Mahan. I am the Executive Director for the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce.
So what do you do?
Everything. I wear a lot of hats. The Chamber, we have become really involved in the community. We do a lot of different things with our businesses. We've been trying to create different benefits that bring real value to our members that they can really utilize and they're excited about, which is, it's been a lot of fun. So one of the things my assistant was able to help me with was kind of revamp our newsletter. And we've gotten a lot of really great feedback on that. People really love reading about themselves in the newsletter. They like seeing their own faces, seeing their news there, and being able to share that with a lot of people. And a lot of people subscribe to that. We have our radio show every week. We have our live stream every week. Those are things people like to be a part of because they like to talk about their businesses. And that's something that I've learned about business owners. They like to brag about their businesses and what they do, especially if they're a business owner and they've kind of started from the bottom and brought it on up. So it's a lot of fun to watch that and watch different business owners talk about what they're passionate about.
Yeah. And so you're trying to increase the value to the consumer.
Yes. So that was a big question whenever I started in this role was, what am I paying for with this membership? I feel like I write a check and I don't know what I'm really getting out of it. So I really started looking at the benefits and I'm like, we have to do something here. We have to make people excited about the chamber. We have to make them want to be a part of this. So we really looked at every single benefit and we said, is this something that people want? Is it something we can fix? Is it something we need to take away? Or is there something we can add? We spent a lot of time on that. And I would say with especially technology and even looking at what we're doing today, things will change a lot year over year and benefits will probably change, especially as businesses change and their needs change. So that's a question that I like to ask a lot of businesses is, hey, what's something I can do? What's something I can bring to you that would be of value that I can add? Whether it's an event, whether it's something like this, something that I can do in person, something I can talk about for them. So if anyone has ideas and they're watching this, I'm open.
Yeah. That's one thing that I've told you this on and off air. Like I really appreciate the way that you operate and how you actually care about what people are getting. Like you're not just trying to get the numbers inflated for the sake of the numbers being inflated. Like you actually care and want to provide value to people. And that is very rare. So you being in the position you are, like, I feel like the chamber's headed in the right direction and people will have those answers. Like, and you ask for feedback and you actually embrace feedback, which is great.
Yes. Well, you're not going to know if you don't ask. And for me, that was a huge thing. I come from the banking world, so chamber world is different. And I'm like, I don't know every single business and the ins and out of all of them. So tell me what's something I can do for you. What's something you want to see from your chamber? And it's funny because I've dealt with a lot of businesses on the financial part of it, but whenever it's chamber benefits, everyone they operate so differently. And that's something that I've kind of said from the beginning. And in our community, especially, we have people that want to do things really old school. And we have people who want to do things that are more modern. So we kind of have to touch every aspect of business and how everybody operates. And that can be very challenging, but kind of fun at the same time. Yeah.
So are you going for different options for those different people, or are you trying to make like almost like an all-inclusive, everyone, whether you're old school, new school, somewhere in the middle, you can benefit from this umbrella essentially, or are you going as more of a tailored approach?
Right now, it's kind of more of an umbrella. Everyone's kind of fitting under that. I think as we grow, and I have to remind myself, I've only been in this role about 7 months, but as we grow, I do think we might be able to do some more specific tailored things depending on the business and what their needs are and what they want. But that was a big thing that we did this year was we restructured what the membership packages are. Previously, it was you pay based on what your industry is and what size your business is, so how many employees you would have. That can get really hard to track, and we have a lot of really large employers here in town. Those numbers can change drastically, even within a month. So for me, I was like, I don't think that's the best way to go about this. I want people to pick. I want them to really look and see these benefits, read them, and say, I want that one. I think that one looks like it would fit for me, or I want to be a part of that. Or maybe say, you know what, I just want to write my check, do the bare minimum. This is a tax write-off for me, and that's okay. And some people want that. But I wanted people to really actually look at it and pick what they wanted based on what their needs are or what their financial obligations might be. Maybe they weren't able to do the larger package this year. Maybe they want to do the smaller one based on what they could afford. But they want to keep an eye on things and see how it goes. Or I don't know. I wanted it to be an option for people. I didn't want to just bill people for what I felt like they needed to do.
Yeah. So you mentioned your banking background a tiny bit. Can we kind of rewind a little bit? Go maybe high school on.
Okay.
And like what sort of like little stepping stones have you taken throughout your career that have led you to the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce?
So high school, I'll just kind of give you my story. And some people might find it a little bit inspiring. And I hope that there's a young girl out there who might hear it and find it inspiring. And some people might kind of look at it and not understand, but that's okay. So I, in high school, had my oldest daughter, my senior year. And as you can imagine, that would kind of slow things down as far as going to college, your education, your career. I did graduate high school with a baby and, of course, was not able to go to college. But throughout my senior year, I did work part-time at Cornerstone, who is a chamber member. So I worked there and never really thought much about what I was going to do with my future, other than I knew I had to get a full-time job. I knew I had to do something for my family. So as I'm working and thinking about things, another part-time job opens up at VF Outlet that I'm thinking, this might be a little bit better than making sandwiches. So I do that. Along the road, I have my second child, which any thoughts of college for me were kind of out the door unless I was going to do online at that point. So working part-time at VF Outlet, kind of thinking I'm stuck there, but I really like working there. There's no opportunity for full-time, but I knew I had to do something because I'm at this point a single mother of two. And banking was not even on my radar. And I'm just looking for different full-time jobs, applying. I find a full-time teller position at a bank, thinking I have cash handling experience. I could maybe do something like that. I applied for it. I didn't get it, but I also had an interview the same day for a part-time teller at Commerce Bank. And I did get that position, which it did pay more than what I was making. So I was like, let's try it. I mean, why not? And it just kind of opened the door. From there, I just worked my way up, and I'll tell you, it's possible. I mean, it takes longer to do it that way, obviously, but it's absolutely possible. I went from a part-time teller. Within a few months, I was a full-time financial services representative. I was opening accounts. I was doing small personal loans. I was doing anything customer service related. I was at Commerce Bank for 5 years, and I really felt like I was one of those employees that kind of did all of it outside of commercial lending. I did a lot of the operational things. I knew how to do auditing the vault. I did a lot of that kind of stuff, and I was kind of aspiring at that point to be maybe a branch manager. That was my goal. And then the door kind of opened to move to Heritage Bank, and I had heard a lot of great things about that place, and I wanted to check it out and kind of see where my career might go within banking. And I'm really glad I took that step because I made my second bank family there at Heritage, and they're great people, loved working there, and they were able to give me more experience, more knowledge. Throughout working at Commerce and Heritage, I met so many people, dealt with so many businesses, which actually gave me a lot of the experience that I have now with the local businesses, just dealing with their transactions daily. Went from there to U.S. Bank, where I specialized in business banking. And at U.S. Bank, it was a really neat opportunity because they really, really encouraged me to get out in the community. I was kind of a salesperson at some point at the very beginning, and they wanted me to be in the community, join a club, be out there at events, do anything you can to just get in front of people. So I joined the Optimist Club, and that kind of started everything with the chamber for me, which kind of sounds funny, but it did. It sparked my passion that I didn't even know that I had for our community. And I saw an opportunity to make a real difference. Ask me in 2007, when I'm graduating high school, do you think that you would ever be the executive director of the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce? And I would be like, what's that? So it's just crazy to see how things changed. I had no idea I was going to end up here. It was not really something that I planned on doing, but I'm so excited about it. I see a lot of potential here. I see a real opportunity for me to make a difference in our community, and I'm really, really excited about it.
What was it specifically about the Optimist Club that, like, was there anything that happened specifically that, like, you were like, the chamber might be a good... Is the chamber involved in that? Like,
no, not really. So it's funny. I got involved with the Optimist Club because my friend at Heritage Bank was in it, and she said, we need more volunteers to help at the fair. And so I was like, okay. So I helped at the fair one day, taking money at the gates. And I was like, I want to do this. Like this, you guys are fun, and I want to hang out with you guys and do this. So I was a part of the club for a year, and all of a sudden they were like, hey, we need a new president. You'd be a great leader. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Public speaking, not my thing. Leading a group, probably not my thing. Not something that I really wanted to do. But I felt like I could do it maybe. And I thought, everyone else in the club has done it. If they can do it, I can do it. We can all do this. It's my turn. So I did it. And as I did it, I was like, this isn't so bad, Mm-hmm. I got a little better week over week with my presentations and talking in front of everyone. It's a smaller group, but I did get a little bit better every time. And that's whenever the opportunity came open for this job. And I had made enough contacts through the club, through our guest speakers that come every week. They were like, that might be a good fit for you. So that's kind of how that happened. We were a part of the chamber. We were members of the chamber as a club, but we weren't involved outside of that really. Yeah. Now we're more involved as a club, more involved with the chamber, but it just kind of, it opened the door, and it was an interesting way for things to happen for me.
What from your banking, you said that kind of helped you along the way. What anything specific from the banking world that you've taken forward? Seems like you had almost like a behind the scenes look in all those different business transactions and all that stuff to kind of wrap your head around how you can help these businesses also in your role now.
Yeah, whenever I was, especially at U.S. Bank as a business banker, you go to these people's businesses and you talk to them. And that gives them a chance to really, you're almost interviewing them as a business owner. And that gives you a chance to really learn about them and their business. And you hear about all kinds of different types of industries and how they do things. So for me, it was just a really good inside look at what different businesses are and what they might need and how they do things and how they operate. For me, that's a great way for me to kind of understand a little bit better than somebody who doesn't know much about different businesses or might know just about one industry.
So having said all of that about behind the banking world and how you got to this position, how do you see the chamber now benefiting the businesses in the community? What do you think is like those driving factors of the chamber that is such a good benefit for different businesses? Mm-hmm.
So kind of like I mentioned, I like asking people what I can do to help them or bring benefit or value to their business as the chamber. That's something I'm going to keep doing. And as businesses are changing and evolving, so will we. I want to change with everybody. We can't stay stagnant. We can't just do things the way we've done it year over year because that's how we've always done it. If you find yourself doing that, you need to be changing. That's the perfect time to change because you're going to find yourself stuck in a rut. You're going to find that you are suddenly way behind times, and we have to just be progressive and relevant. That's how we're going to stay up to date with everybody and really keep them interested and excited about what's going on. I think that's kind of a little bit maybe what happened too is, we weren't as relevant, even with technology, even with staying on social media. I mean, social media is huge. Just staying on Facebook and making posts, whether it's sharing your members' posts, they like seeing that. They like to see that you're reading their post, you're sharing it, you're trying to get their information out there. So it's just really important to make sure that you're staying up with all of your businesses.
Mm-hmm. I see the chamber as almost like a networking service, almost. Mm-hmm. And like you guys having more of a network of different businesses that could connect those dots. Maybe an HVAC person with a certain business, maybe that business, their heat right now, whenever it's freezing cold outside, it goes down, and they would have never heard of that, service if it wasn't for the chamber. That's how I kind of wrap my head around what the chamber is. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of lost a lot, and definitely in this community has been lost of like, what is the chamber and what is it supposed to do? And is it doing that?
Right.
So that's where I feel like you have came in and like, you're putting the effort in, and I feel like, I hope anyways that comes across to the community. Like I've never had ties with the chamber other than doing like the video work and stuff, and you make me feel like I should be a part of the chamber. Good. Because I see your effort. I appreciate effort for people, like, and seeing your community involvement and how you're at sporting events, like you're at all these different things for these different businesses because you actually want to be there rather than feeling like it's an obligation. That says a lot about you and like what you're trying to do with the chamber to me. So I appreciate it, and I hope everyone else out there does also.
Thank you. I appreciate that you recognize that, because sometimes you go to those things and you're like, does anybody even know that you're here? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Last couple things on the chamber. What do you think some common misconceptions are about the chamber?
That's a good one. So we get a lot of phone calls almost daily about things that we don't do, whether it's we need to go fix the stoplight on Elm Street. We need to control a rumor that's going around town about a certain business who usually isn't even a chamber member. So we are not a government entity, first and foremost. The city of Lebanon has been a huge partner for us. They have helped us tremendously with so many things, with helping me kind of get started in this role. I can't say enough great things about the city and what they've done for us. However, we're not part of the city. We are our own separate entity. They're just a really great partner of ours. Mm. So we don't do anything government related. We don't give business licenses. You don't come pay your taxes with us. And if there's a dispute or a rumor with a business, we don't have anything to do with that, really. What we're here for is we're a resource. We help, like you said, connect, give businesses a place to get information, and then network. We hold some certain events, and a lot of those events do get mixed up with some city events, and that's okay because we are in a city building. We have that information. We can get it to you, and we can kind of get all of that lined out whenever people are confused about what events are what. Yeah. And a lot of good information coming on that too, by the way. I'm really excited about. I can't tell you much right now, but I'm really, really excited about what's coming. And we don't pick up your trash. If you call the Chamber of Commerce and you ask us why we haven't picked up your trash in 2 weeks, it's because we don't do that.
You mean you don't go to everyone's house and empty their trash cans for them?
No, but what's funny is I am the type of person that whenever you call and you say that, I'm like, I almost want to be like, what's your address? You know, like, should I go get it?
I'll come pick it up for you.
I'm so sorry that we didn't do that, you know.
Yeah.
But no, that's not a service that we provide either. We're here to take care of our members, promote them, promote our community, and be an advocate for our members as well.
What is maybe the most common question you guys get that you do, something you guys do offer? Like, what's the most common question you get about something like that?
Right now, it's mainly based on how do I become a member or about the new membership structure. So, and I totally get that because it's all brand new this year. So it's just explaining kind of what the different levels are and how to pay, what the renewal is, which right now renewals are in October. So every year it's an annual fee that you pay in October. And I think in years past, and here's something else that I know about businesses from my experience in finance, is that every type of business and every industry, they have different years. And when their years end, some are in July, some are in October, some are at the very beginning of the year. Ours is in October. So that's when renewals are. I'm exploring a different option to perhaps do it a little bit differently to where it might fit business models to fit them better, where they can pay whenever their year end is up or their year begins. So it's not based on ours. I know that for us, it works better when it is ours, but I want to cater to our members because that's why we're here. So that's something I've been exploring a little bit.
Is there any reason why that isn't a calendar year sort of thing?
That's one of those things, kind of like I mentioned, it's just always been that way. So
I think that would be easy. You know, if you're a member for 2024, you have through 2024.
Right.
But then I guess if you have people sign up mid-year or even a couple months into the year, do you bill them for 10 months of
that's
that?
where
And
it gets complicated is do you prorate? How do you prorate? What does that look like? So that's why my exploration of this has not been simple. I want to do it the right way. And I don't need to reinvent the wheel. We're not the only chamber in the world. I can probably find a chamber who does it the way that I want to do it. It's just finding the one that does it correctly. Yeah. And I will say the chamber world, I have been pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what to expect, but it's a really happy family in the chamber world. I mean, every chamber director I've met in other communities, they're very open, happy to share their information. They're excited about new directors and excited to make friends and excited to share what they have or get information, talk about different ideas, collaborate. We had the Miss Merry Christmas pageant this year, which the chamber did in years past. I think they said probably 12 to 15 years ago. And then we quit doing it. Another organization took it up. And then this year we took it back, which was interesting because it was my first year as the chamber director. So it was a lot of learning, but we had a lot of fun with it. But my point is, one of the judges was actually a chamber director. And I just thought that was really cool that she wanted to step in and help where she could because she knew that I needed help. And we don't know each other. You know, we're not friends outside of, we just know that we're both chamber directors. So it's just really cool for me. And I've met another chamber director that says, you know, come to the Missouri Chamber stuff. We're all just one big happy family. We love sharing ideas. You're going to have a blast. So I'm really excited about the world that I'm in now. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I feel like in that role, you should be that way. Like,
yeah.
You should be the collaboration.
It's not a competition.
We're here to help each other and help every business, you know, that's a member. Emphasize that. That's a member, you know, so.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. So at some point later in the year, I think I'll have more time and I'll be able to go to some of those events and bring back some knowledge and share that with our community.
Yeah. Last thing about the chamber before we get into you.
Oh boy.
If someone is a chamber member and they're looking how to best leverage the Chamber of Commerce to help their business, what would your advice be to them?
My advice would be, first, you need to definitely be getting our newsletter because that's where most of our information about events comes from. And that's also where you're going to be able to share your events as well. So that's huge. But come to our events, come to our business builders luncheons, come talk on the radio, come be on the live stream, come chat with me if you're not sure, because I can help you. Send me an email, drop by the office. I'm not there all the time. I am really, really busy and I'm in and out a lot, but make an appointment, drop by, see me, give me a call sometime. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about the benefits that you are using that you're missing out on. With the different levels, there's different benefits that come for each one. Some of the higher ones I know get more. And like one of them would be being a part of a committee. And that's something I'm also working on. I'm really excited about is forming these committees. That would be huge. For you, let's say, for example, if you wanted to be on a committee, you would have the opportunity to be in a group with other people like-minded, hopefully, to help with a common goal, to help with the chamber, but you're also networking as you're working on that goal as well, whether it's an event or whether it's marketing for the chamber, or whether it's whatever the topic is. So I'm really excited about that one as well. There's just so many different ways, and we have so many events as well throughout the year. Just come because they're all free. If you're a member, come to them.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things. And like, I have a person job shadowing me or interning. I've had a couple, and one of the biggest things I tell them about business in general is networking is basically your life as a business. Like if you're not networking, I always use the analogy, if someone doesn't know that you exist, they can't pay for your service.
Right.
Like, you don't exist to them. And if you're not putting yourself out there, that's other business owners, clients, other people in the community. And that's something I really want to get better at is I feel like I'm really good at networking whenever I'm doing it, but putting myself in those, going to those events. If I'm not hired to shoot it, I basically just don't go. And that's something in my business, I got to get better at preparing the back end to set myself up, specifically me, to be out doing stuff like that more. And that's where business structure is something that it's a weird thing, especially as like a creative business owner, just speaking to the creative people out there. Like it's really hard whenever you want to be out shooting the things and having the fun, and you got to be like the business owner.
Yeah.
You know, I like both aspects of it, which I think is a benefit, but I sometimes get buried in the work, and then it's impossible. And like, I know you've been fighting fires and doing things since you've been the chamber director, so you kind of know what that's like. But it's like you want to do so much stuff, and there's only a limited amount of time, and that's where I'm trying to branch out right now of like hiring on a couple people, and like that's something it's completely foreign to me, and like that's one thing. It's like, it's crazy to think that like a couple of years ago, like how fast things can change, I guess, like in any trajectory of like you a couple of years ago, you're at a bank, you're doing this, and now you're the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. Or like you said, you joined the Optimist Club just to have something, to be around the fun people.
Right.
And then you get in this role, and it's like almost being bombarded with stuff, and you're like enjoying it, but it's a lot. That's how I feel like running your own business is. It's just like, if you actually love what you're doing, it's a lot at all times, but you love doing it. So you have to find that balance of like, you don't want to burn yourself out. And I think I almost got to that point last year. I feel like the chamber can help with that of putting on these events and like showing people the value of why you should come out and why you should be networking, talking to other people. It's only benefiting you.
Absolutely. And to your point too, I know going to some of these events, sometimes it might seem like, oh, that's a waste of my time. I don't want to go. That's boring. I don't want to go talk to these people, whatever. So that's been kind of something I've been trying to work on with each and every one, is making them a little bit more interesting, different in some way, bring a different type of value to these events, especially like the monthly luncheons, where they're just an hour of your time. Come on your lunch break, come listen to somebody talk for just a few minutes about whatever they're going to talk about. grab lunch, meet a few new people, hopefully, and maybe share about your business. And that would be a great opportunity for you as well to talk about your business in front of everybody as the guest speaker. But I'm really, really trying to make that more interesting and get more people there, because I want that to be a benefit for you or anyone that comes to that, to network, and maybe they will meet somebody. Maybe they will meet a contact that will maybe hire them, or that they will hire, or that can help them with whatever issue they're working on.
Yeah. So moving on from the chamber, who is Ashley? Okay, we're going to dive in deep here. Who is a role model of yours that you've taken some inspiration from throughout your life to get you to where you are?
Who is a role model that I've taken inspiration from to get me to where I am today?
Like Britney Spears.
Like an actual role model.
That's the first. I was setting you up for the Britney Spears thing.
Well, so I will say I do love Britney Spears. I don't know that she's my role model, though. She's like my bestie.
Shave her head off and...
Yeah, she's like a bestie. I don't know that I look up to her.
There might be better people to look up to. I don't know. Sorry,
Yeah.
Britney Spears, if you're watching the podcast.
Her book was great. Loved it.
There seems like there would be some interesting stories in that book, at least.
Yeah, there were. You learn a lot. And, it's really sad, actually. It makes you look at her in a different way.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's kind of the theme of the podcast. Like what I want this to be, not a Britney Spears podcast, but like, everyone has a story, and I feel like everyone can learn something from anyone. And that's kind of where I want to go with this podcast, is like everyone has a backstory. You have things that led you to where you are now. Every person has that, like whether they want to admit it or not. Like everything that you do in your life leads you to the next thing, which then leads you to the next thing. And you can either be consciously choosing that, or you can be flying by the seat of your pants, That's where I feel like a lot of people go wrong, is like letting their life happen to them rather than like taking the bull by the horns, so to speak.
Right.
And like setting out on some intentional path. So I don't know. That's what I want people to get out of this podcast. If you get nothing else, like live your life intentionally, like that. Like we're going there. Britney Spears to living your life intentionally. So one thing about you, like personally and professionally, I guess we can give two different answers here. What do you do to invest in your personal growth and business growth professionally? One thing I do to kind of give you a serve up here, I listen to a lot of podcasts, business, networking, photography, video related stuff, podcasts, audiobooks, that sort of stuff. YouTube videos, you can learn anything on YouTube. Like my career, I'm totally self-taught via YouTube on photo, video, everything related to what I do as a living. Anything like that you do?
I network a lot, which is part of my job, but I kind of did that before anyways. It's all about who you know. It really is. And that's something that I try to teach my kids. It's, making the right contacts can change everything for you. It can get you a job offer. It can get you in the right place at the right time to meet somebody really interesting, a famous person even, or maybe you get tickets to a game because you knew the right person who had them, or maybe you win something because you knew the person. I don't know. I'm just saying it's all about who you know, and it's important to network. And it's more important than I think a lot of people realize. So
I think of network as like a circle, and like you have a circle, I have a circle, and us doing this podcast is bringing, at some point, those circles are going to converge in this podcast. Some people that might not ever have seen me before or know what I do, who I am, are going to watch this podcast because you're on it. And then they will see me, and hopefully they will like what I do, and then, do that. Like everything starts out as like a pin dot, and then you meet new people, and it expands that circle a little bit. And the more you expand that circle, look at The Rock. Like he's got 100 million people that follow him, or probably more. His circle is gigantic. So like the footprint that he can have by putting up a post on his Instagram is more than people pay to like have ads in the Super Bowl. So like there's a lot of value in who you know, but the thing with that is like you don't go network just to use those people for something.
Right.
I think that's the absolute biggest thing is you should know people to be at the top of mind if they ever need what you do, but that's not expected. I feel like that's kind of a good distinction to make too. Like,
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to be careful with networking in the sense of know who you're dealing with, for sure, and kind of know their intentions as well. Because you don't want to take advantage of anybody and be known for doing that, but you also don't want to be taken advantage of yourself either. So definitely be aware of what's going on around you, but just knowing the person, because also something for me in my role too, which is huge. I met with somebody yesterday and I said this to her. She was explaining what she does. And I'm like asking these questions. And I think she thought I was asking for myself. And I stopped her. I'm like, I'm asking so I know when somebody asks me that I can send them to you or that I shouldn't send them to you. So it's about helping other people too. Sometimes with networking, for me it is anyways. I love helping people. I do. I've always been very blessed in all of my roles professionally with supervisors who help me and encourage me and kind of push me to do more and do better. And they don't hold me back and they don't punish me for trying to apply for another job somewhere or do more with my life. And they've never been anything but happy for me whenever I do move on. Sad, but happy.
Yeah.
And I want to be like that too. I want to help people, whether it be in their career or whether it be just something that they're working on, a project they're working on. I love it. I love helping people. So it's cool for me to just know people through networking that I can, like with you, I can say, hey, call Brian. He can help you with that video.
which I appreciate also. That's awesome.
Of course.
What are some maybe setbacks, failures that you've had in life that has actually propelled you farther? I think one thing people always don't want to fail, but a lot of times having some sort of a hiccup in your story that can actually open your eyes to something better, or one door closes, another opens, that sort of quote. Do you have anything like that in your life?
Yeah, a couple things I'll say on that. So I'm not going to sit here and say that my kids were a setback and having them were. That's not the point of me saying this. Having them at a young age makes things take longer, but for me, they are my driving force, and they are the reason that I do everything that I do. I want them to be proud of me. I want them to be proud of the life that I've given them and I've built for them. And I want them every single day to, when they think of me and they think of the things that I've done for them, that they realize that I've done everything that I could, that I didn't just let things go, do the bare minimum, that I really was pushing. And I tried really, really hard. A single mother of 2 kids at that young of an age, I mean, for me to be where I'm at now, I know that says a lot, because I know that I could be somewhere else today very, very easily. So that, to me, they are kind of what pushes me forward and what drives me daily. Even today, I mean, I've got a 15 and a 17-year-old. So they're not little anymore, but they still drive 17. Me. Yeah, well, thanks.
I think that's good too. Like, you know, that goes back to almost the living intentionally sort of thing. You could have very easily been like, oh, this is happening to me, versus how am I going to make this work, and what am I going to do to better myself and better my kids? That's one thing. I had our daughter really young, and whenever I got with Mary, she had a 3.5-year-old already. So I, from a very young age, took on that responsibility, and I knew I want to set us up the best way possible, but I want to do that by doing something that I love. And then I eventually came across doing this, and I was just very fortunate to be the way I am, where I go 150% into whatever I'm into, and that ended up turning out to where something I can actually make a career out of. For a long time, it was music. Anyone who's ever played music, there's not much of a career in playing music unless you are the top. And like, I was more doing it for fun, but that's another one of those, that was a stepping stone. Me playing music is what got me into cameras, which led me into my career now. So if I would have never done that, I would never be doing this.
It's funny how things work out.
Right.
It just is. So, and I will say too, there was a time whenever I was a little bit, nothing good will ever happen to me, down in the dumps, sad about things. And my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time before we got married, but he really pushed me because he saw the potential that I had, and he knew how hard of a worker I am. And he kind of was like, you're not giving up. You can do more. So it's, looking back, he was probably my biggest cheerleader through everything, and my biggest supporter, and still is. And it's just really interesting to kind of see how everything played out, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's probably important too. Is like, just because you do live your life intentionally, and it doesn't mean you don't ever feel like, why am I doing this? Like, that happens almost daily. Like, especially as a small business owner, like, what am I doing this for? And then you get that little hit of like, you see your kids, or I pick up my kids from school, or the fact that I don't have to work a factory job now, and I have the ability to drop my kids off every day and come to this building that I can now have because of the career, and like sit here and do this podcast and talk to cool people like you. Like that, I wouldn't be doing this if I was at a factory anymore, but I had to make that choice to set this path and work to make it happen, and then make that leap, which transitions me to my next question of, as a business owner, sometimes you have to make scary decisions, scary leaps that might not make sense to a lot of people, but if you're like, have that determination, it kind of needs to happen. Are there any times in your life where you had to take like that jump? Like, for instance, whenever I worked at the factory, I built this business on the weekends, and I ended up surpassing my income. And I was like, it would be dumb of me not to take the leap, but that's a scary, scary leap. Like, I'm the sole income, 3 kids. We just bought a house. I'm like, I'm going to quit my job. Anything like that happen in your life where you had to just like bet on yourself, essentially?
Honestly, taking this role was a huge leap. Glad I did it, even though we're still kind of in the early stages of it. But I left a pretty cushy job at U.S. Bank. I was working from home, so that was lovely. I liked doing that. Had benefits there, had a great pay there. It was a pretty stable position that I had, and now it's very different. I was on a team there. I had a boss there. Now I am kind of on my own. I have a board of directors that I report to. We meet monthly, and it's different. They're not like my boss, my supervisor, that's either in the office every day or that's right there every day on Teams that I can call, or message at the drop of a hat. I could call any of them, but they all have full-time jobs too. And many of the board members that we have on the chamber board are community leaders as well, and they all have very important roles where they're at their employers. So they're not just always readily available. They'll call me back whenever they can, but it's a little bit different than what I was used to. And, money and benefits, that's different than what it was. So I'm really taking a chance on myself doing this and trusting that I can. I'm confident. I wouldn't have applied for the job if I didn't think that I could do it. And especially if I didn't see the potential. I see it, and I'm really excited about it. I know that it'll take time to get there and reach that potential, and I think it's going to take a little more time than I originally thought, and that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, that was a big leap for me, and I'm not going to lie. Some days I'm kind of like, whoa, what did I do?
Yeah.
Because it can be overwhelming, but that's okay. It's part of it.
It'll all work out.
It'll all work out.
So we kind of covered the setbacks, that sort of stuff. What about looking forward? You know, you've said multiple times you're excited about the potential of what's happening, say, over the next 5 years. That's a common question. What's your 5-year goal? Do you have a 5-year goal? What is your 5-year goal if you do? Or
it's funny you ask that.
If you don't, what about the meantime in between there?
So I'm currently working on a strategic plan for the chamber. That would include kind of short term and then going into long term. I don't know that I have a specific 5-year necessarily, but I think it'll kind of roll into that as getting these committees formed and going. My original goal was to have them done, formed, and rolling this year. I don't know that they'll all be that way. Definitely going to have one for sure, but to have all of them rolled out, formed, and really, really involved. That's going to be one of my goals for my 5-year plan. And then to continue growing membership, that's huge. We have a lot of businesses in Lebanon, like a lot. And for me, I'm like, why are they not a part of the chamber? You know? So I've been kind of, as I'm going through our current members, looking at the ones that aren't and seeing, were they before? You know, are we missing something? Did something happen? So something that I am going to be doing in the future too, within the next 5 years, it's going to take some time to get through them all, is kind of interviewing some of the past members and kind of saying, why? You know, what has happened? What can I do to change things for you? Is there anything I can do to change things for you? Some businesses are just going to be like, no, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm not going to talk to you about it. You know, maybe nothing happened. They're just not going to. And that's okay. And some might have a story that they want to tell. Maybe they didn't feel valued. Maybe they need to see the value for a while before they trust that things are different or changed or how they work now. And that's fine too. I think a lot of people are looking at me like, that girl's new. I don't know her. She doesn't know anything about running a chamber. Let's step back and see what happens here. Yeah. I think there's a lot of that going on right now too. And that's totally fair. I get it. So I need to go to those people and kind of talk to them one-on-one. That's been a thing for me this year too, is I need to get boots on the ground. Isn't that what they say? Boots on the ground, get out there in person in front of these people face to face. And it's been really hard for me because I have a lot of things that have to be done on the computer right now that I've been frantically typing, you know, just trying to get through. So we're going to get there. My assistant left me. I'm going to be hiring somebody soon. But until then, it's like I'm all there is. So like I said, time is just, things are going to take a little bit more time than I anticipated originally, but that's okay. Yeah.
So we've talked about some setbacks and things, and that causes sometimes some self-doubt, that little voice in your head that you don't like to hear, sort of thing. What do you do whenever that happens to you? I know everyone has a different way of dealing with that. The imposter syndrome, that little, the devil on the shoulder sort of thing, like telling you you're not good enough for whatever you're signed up for. If you're a business owner, you're not made for this, that sort of voice. What do you do whenever that creeps up?
I mean, obviously I take the few moments that I need to take to sulk and be sad and pout and whatever I need to do. Usually if I get caught doing that at home, my husband gives me the little pep talk that I need to get me back on track. But even if he can't get there to give me that, I get myself there at some point. And I usually am able to say to myself, as my dad would say, self, look at where you are now and look at how far you've come. And you wouldn't be here if you weren't good enough, if you couldn't do it. I know my value. I know my worth. I know what I'm capable of. And yeah, we all have bad days. And yes, there's always someone out there who's going to be better than me at something. But I'm not going to try to do something that I don't think that I can really do.
You're giving someone advice for they are down in the dumps. Like they feel like they are at the bottom. Like what would you say to them to like help them get back on track in their mind?
So something that I have said to my daughters when they are kind of at that point and they don't want to continue or they don't think that they can do something is do it. You have to try. You're not going to know unless you try. And sometimes you do have to learn lessons the hard way. And that's how I've learned most of mine. Yeah, it's not fun. I mean, you don't like learning lessons the hard way. For me, I wouldn't tell my child to do something and put them in a situation that would be bad for them. Even if they're not going to win, or even if I don't think they're going to get what they're going out there to get, whatever that situation is, I'm not going to tell them to do that if they don't have a shot at it, or I don't think that they can do it. So I usually just tell them to do it. I mean, you've got to, you have to. You're not going to feel good about yourself by just sulking in your room and not doing it. You have to try at some point, and you're going to surprise yourself, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, a lot of people need to hear that of like, if you just focus on taking one step, that will lead you to the next step. And that's kind of been the theme of this whole episode is like, everything can lead you to the next thing. I meet you, and that could lead me to something else, and vice versa. And the people and the steps you take, waking up, choosing to go to the gym. That's a big thing. Like, you know, the hardest part of going to the gym and working out is getting to the gym. And then once you're there, you just do it. Like,
Right.
You know, it takes care of itself, but you have to take the initial step. Once you take the initial step, it opens up the whole world, essentially. What's something in your life that you haven't done that you would like to do?
Oh, wow.
And do you have a plan to make that happen?
Okay. So this is fun. I haven't traveled very much. So a little bit about myself personally. Growing up, I had a brother who had a lot of health issues. He was special needs. And so it was my mom and dad and my brother and myself. And we just didn't travel much because it wasn't easy for us to get out and about. And to be honest, I don't think my parents really cared about traveling much. And my mom's not much for water and swimming and boats and that type of thing anyways. And I would love to see the day that they would either one get on a plane ever. So I'm just not. I've been a few places briefly, but I would love to get out and travel. I've never even been to a beach. Can you believe that? Every time I tell people that, they're like, what? So
I can relate because I hadn't either. Whenever I left the full-time job, I had a week and a half to where I had nothing booked, which at that time was like unheard of. So I was like, let's take a vacation. Mary's family is from Florida. So I was like, let's go to Florida. I've never been to the ocean. She had been there whenever she was young, and our kids had never seen the ocean. So I got to experience seeing the ocean for the first time with my kids because of taking that step. So that was like one of those moments you won't ever forget.
Right. Well, I've been to Florida once, but I didn't go to the beach. I went straight to the airport, and then we went to Universal Studios for a cheer competition. It was just me and my youngest daughter.
Yeah.
And that's all we did. We didn't go outside of that, which it was fun, and it was a great experience. And it was my first time on a plane, which was great. I'm like, it's just me and my kid here. Like, this is a whole experience, but it was a lot of fun. And then I got to then travel on a plane for work at US Bank, which was fun too. I did that all by myself like a big girl. But outside of that, I've just not traveled a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it would be fun. I would like to. I want to see other places. I don't want to leave Lebanon. I just want to check it out. I want to see what's out there and have a real vacation at some point. So my plan is to take a vacation within the next couple of years sometime. I don't see it happening this year. It's probably not going to happen this year, but maybe next year. Take a real vacation, week long, whether it's go to a beach, go to the mountains. I would like to see the mountains as well. We've been watching Yellowstone lately, so like I'm feeling a little bit like a cowgirl. Like I need to maybe go to a ranch or something and visit Yellowstone. I don't know,
Yeah.
but just do something fun and just get away and check out a totally different location. That'd be fun.
Yeah. I can say I was the same way. Like my dad's family was from Minnesota, and we would go up there in the summers. That was our vacation, was going to Minnesota, which if you don't know, Minnesota is just completely flat. And like he was from the very north, very, very north, like right beside Canada. And so they cut all of the farmland up there into mile squares. So you drive a mile, you come to a 4-way stop, a mile each way or a mile straight forward. That was our vacation growing up. So I didn't really get vacations either. And there's 10,000 lakes in Minnesota. There's nothing but mosquitoes when it's warm. So it was terrible. Like I have no fond memories of going to Minnesota as a kid for our vacation. So like that was one of those things of, I can tell you now, we went to the mountains and we went to Florida to the beach. Do it. Like there's nothing like it, especially experiencing it first time with your kids also. Mm-hmm. That's another big thing with me. Like I try to provide them, you can only do so much for your kids. Like you can only teach them so much, but like having those experiences with them and you're experiencing it for the first time as they are also, there's like nothing like that. And knowing it's just like also knowing that you set yourself and family up to take this vacation. That's the best part of the vacation for me. Like I'm very much a provider, and I get satisfaction from being the provider and providing those experiences and being able to be there. And like the fact that we just went to Florida, that was enough of a vacation for me. Like in my head of like, we did this, I made this happen, and like taking that leap.
Like whenever Remy and I went, we both of our first time on the plane, first time in Florida, we had an absolute blast. And it was just the two of us. So it was more, I don't know, we just did whatever we wanted. And we had such a fun time. We got to go to Universal Studios between the competition, ride rides together. And we didn't have to wait on anyone. It was just us in the room. So we were quick with getting ready and going wherever we wanted. And I just had to worry about one kid. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a lot of fun. And like you said, just watching her face light up with everything she experienced, you know, that was to me just the most amazing thing. And so I know just watching them experience anything will be the same way. So
one thing, a part of my story is in 2020, about 2 weeks before the whole world went crazy, like I lost my mom out of nowhere. Like it was totally unexpected. It was on Valentine's Day, which was also my parents' 33rd anniversary, that all this happened on that day. So everything in the whole world, my world, personal, crashed down, and then the literal world shut down. So that was a very dark time. That year was not a good year at all for our family. So one thing that has happened since then is like I've done a lot of like introspection, working on myself, my mind. It was a very dark time, and so I had to make that switch, or else I don't know what would have happened. But it was not looking good for a long time. And one of the things that I made a conscious decision of is like looking at those things to where what people will remember you by, you know, and like living your life. And like, this is a conscious thing that I think about now is like, what will people think of me after I'm gone? Like my kids, the biggest, obviously, I care what they think more than anybody else, but also the relationships that you make, the people you talk to, your network of people. I don't want to just expand a business network for no reason. I want to genuinely care about these people and what they're doing and them being successful. that is something I consciously think about is the relationships that I'm making, the network that I'm building, and actually helping those people with value with the end goal of I want to be looked at as a person who cared. Like that is my ultimate goal with everything. I want to be successful. I want to have a good business. I want to do what I love for a living. And anything above that in the business world for me is just like icing on the cake. And I've made that. I'm fortunate enough to have made that happen as long as everything continues to go good. And so I guess a question to you is like, for one, is that something you ever think about? And what do you think a good lasting impression would be for you?
It is absolutely something I think about. And it's not that I care what people think, but not in the sense of I worry about what people think. I think there's a difference there. But I do care, and I want people to know that I am a genuine good person, and I care about others. I care about others' well-being. I care about others' success, just like you do. And I think it's really important for me to portray that, and to also, in my role especially, I have to build that trust. And that's how I do that, is showing that I care. And whether it's a little form of showing that I care by sharing a contact with you because I know that you're looking for a plumber and I have a good one. Or it's, I share your newsletter on social media because I told you, hey, that's a benefit you have and you've not used it yet. And I get you to send it to me. I'm keeping up with you that way. So I want people to know that I care, and I want to make sure that you're utilizing your member benefits, and I am trustworthy, and I'm not doing anything for me here. I'm doing it for the good of everybody. And I think that's kind of what I want my lasting impression to be for everybody too, just a good, genuine person, because that's what I am.
Just to wrap up everything we've had a good conversation. We've talked through the steps, the setbacks, all the positives, the negatives, looking forward, looking backwards. We've done it all. Is there anything you would like to leave the people who have stuck around, which all of them did?
They all stayed.
Obviously. All of them stuck around for the whole podcast. But anything for someone who has stuck around and invested this time with us, anything you would like to leave them with in terms of either exciting things coming up, words of wisdom, any or all of that?
There are some exciting things coming up.
That you can talk about.
I cannot talk about them, but stay tuned for that. That's
Do you know when it'll come
coming
out?
soon. I really don't. Hopefully in the next few weeks, it'll be big for our community, and not just the chamber. It'll be big for our whole community. Really exciting stuff for businesses, community alike. But other than that, thank you for sticking around. People who did, that's awesome that you did. And again, I'm here for you, whether you're a member or not a member. If you've got questions, come to me. I'll gladly talk you through the membership status, structure, and benefits. If you have ideas about different benefits that you think would be great for your business or another business that you know about, bring those ideas to me, because I'm all ears. I want to know. I need to know. I don't know everything, and I don't claim to. I have a lot to learn here, and I want to make sure that we're reaching everybody and we're able to bring value to everybody. So it's definitely a work in progress, and kind of like I said, it's one of those things where I think things are going to change almost year over year, because things change at a pretty rapid pace nowadays with businesses and what their needs are. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to see what the future holds.
Well, I want to say thank you for coming on, for one, but also thank you for being a good friend. Like I regard you as a good friend now. We've networked. We've become good friends, I feel like. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate all of your effort that it's inspiring to me to see you step into a role. You're drowning, but you're working to get out of it and up the value all the time. So that's really inspiring to see from my perspective. Also, another younger person who's taking on the world and trying to make it a better thing. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a good person.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for having me on. This is a great opportunity for me too. And I can kind of share a little bit about my story. Thank you.
See ya.